Primarily, I am a photographer and a filmmaker. I do that full-time for a living with an ad agency called AdSpark Communications. We make a lot of videos for companies and organizations, telling their stories, getting their message about them out there, raising awareness, and archiving a legacy for those companies and businesses and organizations as a service. Mainly I'm a one-man crew with a camera and some lighting gear and some sound gear, and I'm kind of doing a lot of interviews and getting a lot of B-roll of people in their work environments, and I often rely on drone footage and time-lapse footage and things like these to get good visuals for their product videos. I do a lot of work with a dance troupe called Fada Dance, and together we have collaborated on making some dance specific film pieces together, and we plan to do more of that type of work. And that spirit of creativity that Fada Dance fosters in myself and my family and a lot of my friends in Regina is something I admire a lot as artists, and that spirit of sort of like group creativity is really inspiring to me. And I think Fada Dance, working with them has been a great fit for me. I also happen to be the video creator for this series of short documentary promotional films for artists called Art Talks. I'm like literally behind the camera right now and editing it right now. In a natural light setting, often what I'm going to do is take multiple exposures of the ambient light and often add supplemental light at the same time, and different focal lengths and different exposure values for different tonal qualities of light that happen in any given environment. I'll go into my computer, into Photoshop, and use techniques like luminance masking or high dynamic range processing or photo blending to enhance images to something more spectacular than what you can capture in one single exposure. So besides being a filmmaker and photographer, I feel like there's more to my art form and more image creation that I do beyond that. Cinemagraphs are kind of a thing I enjoy doing. It's kind of, you can see a number of different artists do this on social media, where you combine layers of video and photo at the same time to create a very eye-catching sort of surreal image, where part of the image is very still and the other part moves in sort of a cyclical, repetitive pattern. It's very seamless, kind of a seamless loop is what you get in the end run. So as a kid growing up, I was definitely inspired by cinema in general. I think the first film I ever saw in a theater was E.T.
E.T. is about taking care of an old dying grandpa.
The first video I ever saw at home on Betamax video, I think, was Star Wars: A New Hope. And you know, this sci-fi and fantasy and the stories you could tell with cinema really interested me to sort of dream about fulfilling a career in image making and storytelling. My background is I have a BFA in filmmaking, production from the University of Regina. And after that, I spent a lot of time working on set as a film technician, mainly in the lighting department and cinematography. I've even been a director of photography on some short films and television series in the past. I once did some graphic design work for a film production where I was designing giant fight posters using photographs I took of fighters, and using graphic elements I created myself and in Photoshop, and these things were blown up large and could see them in the film and that sort of thing. Digital painting is something I'm always very interested in. I love using a pen tablet and Photoshop and adding extra elements and creating fantastic sort of sci-fi environments sometimes, and creating more surrealist images with digital painting. Sort of more ridiculous sort of art form that really captivated me for a while during the pandemic was virtual photography. I found myself with a lot of time on my hands, and I was playing a lot of video games, and I was noticing that one game in particular allowed you to sort of pull out a camera and take photos of the scenery and the players online and all the different random things that could happen, and I thought, this is interesting. This is kind of, once I got bored of the game, started just doing a lot more photography than anything. And then I really discovered that there was actual online communities that explore virtual photography, and I was like, oh cool, this is something I can kind of get into it as a way to enhance my Photoshop skills, because I wanted to use these virtual photographs in combination with a bunch of different image manipulation technology out there, like Photoshop and some of the AI technology out there, to create more photorealistic images and create sort of genre mashup sort of style, pop culture bending references as a fun, playful way to create art and enhance my Photoshop skills. I made once a half-hour long sort of rotoscope style animation using pastels and markers, and that was a lot of fun and very wacky, and sort of fit in the style of these short films I used to make as well. I used to participate in sort of this Super 8 film revival festivals, where you had one roll of Super 8 film and you wouldn't be allowed to edit the film afterwards. You had to do all your edits in camera. And some of the films I created in that run were very satirical and very wacky, and explored a lot of different themes that I think that scared me about cinema in general. Like I'm not a big fan of horror films and gore and blood and guts, but I often would try to sort of satirize these themes in my short films as well. I really enjoyed sort of self-deprecating humor, where I would often make fun of myself and satirize different sort of characters that we recognize in our society. When I'm not working, I find that one of the most important things I can do is to go out and have adventures with my family and friends and loved ones, and kind of capture these moments the best way I can, using sports cameras and drone technology, and really kind of get a lot of adventure style video and photos. It can be a challenge trying to take large film equipment into the woods and that sort of thing, so I usually try to keep it quite small with sports cameras and and small drones and that sort of thing. And often even just your cell phone can, you know, be good enough to capture fun adventures. But I found one of the things that really has sparked my love of combining these adventures with my sort of need to always be joking and satirical and goofy is to basically turn into a ridiculous, embarrassing, kind of disgusting goofball on camera for my wife whenever she pulls out her cell phone when we're on these adventures or just out being active in a park and being outdoors. And I haven't showcased these as an arts form so much, but I feel like it's a way for me to sort of express my need to, I guess, act or be a character or be silly and you know, see what that looks like and see how I can make people laugh that way. It's interesting to me because there are definitely people on social media using this type of video creation to become quite popular and quite frankly quite rich from content just like this. And I thought, well, heck, maybe there's an opportunity for my wife and I to explore this collaboration. My short-term goals, I think, are to just bring more creativity into my everyday work, sort of reconnect with some of the more creative and satirical and ridiculous sides of some of the work I used to do in the past with short filmmaking and digital painting and artwork and that sort of thing, and kind of keep bringing all my skills together into mediums, just blending them and mixing and matching and mashing up just my different talents, whether it be graphic design or even just touching on acting or painting or digital artwork or cinemagraphs or animation or photo or even photojournalism. And of course, exploring what's new, what's next in terms of image creation as far as technology is evolving, especially with the evolution of artificial intelligence and how computers are becoming artists now. And my long-term goals, I think, would be for me to eventually start spending more time capturing landscape, nature photography, getting that work refined, established on printed mediums and into galleries and sold as a serious sort of legendary style adventure man who's always out in the bush. I like a good Saskatoon berry bush, the best. My advice to emerging artists getting into image creation is to not worry about having all the best gear and having all the gear. The best thing you can do is just to use the cameras you have with you. Be creative, be consistent, tell a good story, and showcase your work as much as you can. And the growth in terms of your technical opportunities and your advancement into making that art form a career will just happen naturally over time if you keep it up.